What if your newest, most productive coworker just isn't human at all? Like they don't sleep, and they might actually be plotting to waste millions of your company's dollars if you don't actively babysit them.
Right, yeah, it's a completely wild dynamic.
It really is. So, welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to figure out exactly how you can survive and, actually thrive working alongside this totally new breed of colleagues, the AI agents.
Because the transition is happening right under our noses. I mean, going from using software as a passive tool to, well, managing it like an active participant.
Yeah.
It requires a massive mental shift for anyone in a corporate environment.
Absolutely. And we are pulling today's insights from this really fascinating excerpt written by an AI industry veteran. It's perfectly titled, How to Get Along Fabulously with Your New AI Agent Coworkers.
It's a great piece, very sharp.
Yeah, the author comes right out of the gate with this incredibly sharp, slightly sarcastic take on the absolute frenzy surrounding AI right now. He jokes that if you look at the latest marketing stats, a staggering 120% of companies are already using AI agents.
Yeah, that impossible math perfectly captures the fever pitch of the marketing cycle right now. Every vendor is promising that their new agent will, revolutionize your entire workflow overnight.
Right, he calls it standard AI hype math. But then he actually grounds that sarcasm in reality. He points to an actual EY study from last year showing that AI agent adoption was already at about 50% back then.
Wow, 50%. Even last year.
Right. So his joke is that if you apply the standard hype math, like the promise that AI is getting 10 times to a billion times smarter every 12 months, then by now the AI has almost certainly found a way to assimilate more than 100% of companies.
It's funny, but I mean, the underlying truth is that the assimilation really is inevitable.
Okay, let's unpack this, because going from an absurd mathematical joke to the very real presence of these agents in our daily digital offices is a bit of a leap. Like, what does this actually look like for you, the person listening, when you log on tomorrow morning?
Well, it looks remarkably mundane, honestly. We're transitioning from these overarching statistics directly into the interface on your screen. Like, these agents are not floating holograms on your desk.
It's no sci-fi robots.
Exactly. They are quietly embedded in the software you already use every single day, doing things that used to require a human clicking a mouse.
The author gives some very specific examples of where these agents actually live now. Like, if you are in project management, there are agents in Jira, which is, the tracking software where technical teams log software bugs and stuff.
The ticketing system.
Yeah, and these agents are actively reading and closing those tickets on their own. And if you're dealing with internal documentation, there are agents living inside Confluence, basically the company wiki, and they are authoring policy documents from scratch.
And for developers, I mean, they're right there in VS Code, the actual text editor where programmers work, and the AI is just suggesting or writing entire functions for you.
It's everywhere. And for the general corporate population, they're living in Slack or Microsoft Teams.
Right, you might see an agent dropping in a beautifully formatted chart, updating everyone on last week's sales numbers. Or summarizing a 50-message thread you missed while you were at lunch.
And maybe even opening that message with a perfectly calibrated, totally inoffensive joke.
Yeah, usually a terrible pun.
Which brings up something I really want to challenge, because the text notes that these agents often have, like cute robot names, they have little avatar faces in the chat bubble at the top of the screen.
The human touch.
Exactly. The author mentions an agent named Johnny 6, which is a joke about being one iteration better than Johnny 5 from that old movie Short Circuit. But wait, isn't giving it a human name and a cute avatar actually just a brilliant user interface choice?
How do you mean?
Well, it makes the technology way less intimidating for non-technical staff, right? Like if I'm an HR manager who is terrified of coding, asking Johnny 6 to pull a report feels a lot safer than typing a SQL query into a blank, scary terminal.
What's fascinating here is that while it does lower the barrier to entry, this anthropomorphizing isn't just a friendly user interface quirk. According to the author, it is a deliberate, highly calculated marketing construct.
Wait, really? A deliberate construct?
Oh, absolutely. Big tech companies aren't just selling you a helpful feature to make your day easier. They are explicitly setting these agents up to be sold as human replacements.
Are they really going that far? I mean, it seems like a stretch to say a smiley face in Slack is a plot to replace me.
Well, look at how organizations are structuring their internal systems to accommodate the software. The author points out that companies are giving these agents official job titles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they are literally placing them on the company org chart next to human employees. There are even suggestions in the industry that you could theoretically give them vacation time.
Vacation time for an algorithm?
Yeah.
That is completely wild.
Right. Which essentially just means scheduling planned downtime for server maintenance,
Yeah.
but, branding it as the AI taking a mental health day.
I can't even imagine logging on and seeing Johnny Six is out of office, so why go through all this trouble?
Because the razor-sharp tech companies, the enterprise vendors actually deploying this software, they get the irony. They know it's just statistical modeling and code.
Sure.
But they also know that the illusion is necessary to justify the massive enterprise subscription costs. When you are in a frustrating Slack argument with Johnny Six over a project metric, your brain processes that interaction differently than if you were just looking at a server error log.
Oh, I see. So they want the C-suite to look at the org chart, see these agents as functional employees, and then, feel good about paying thousands of dollars a month for them.
Exactly. They are desperately dressing these agents up as human coworkers today to justify that massive price tag.
So to understand why they are trying so hard to sell us this specific illusion, we actually have to look backward, don't we? This marketing desperation seems to be a direct result of how the first wave of AI kind of failed to deliver on its wildest promises.
Really is.
Because we treat the human face of AI like it's this brand new sudden explosion that just happened last year. But the author argues that the AI boom isn't actually moving at blinding speed at all.
Right. Understanding the history here is crucial understanding of what the technology actually is, rather than what the marketing brochure says it is.
The author shares this incredibly surprising fact from his own background, like the generative AI wave. It was already well underway back in 2010.
Which is ages ago in tech years.
Seriously. He and his team developed one of the first generative AI platforms at a company called Automated Insights. By 2013, which feels like the dark ages of the internet, they were powering hundreds of millions of articles.
Yeah, they were generating Yahoo Fantasy Football recaps and the Associated Press quarterly earnings reports in 2013.
Which is wild to think about.
We are talking about massive scale, long before anyone had heard of modern chatbots. The mechanism they used back then relied on vacuuming up structured data like, sports statistics or financial spreadsheets, and pushing it through complex template-based algorithms.
To generate those readable narratives.
Exactly. It was incredibly effective for very narrow, data-heavy reporting.
And the author calls this the first wave of AI. It was entirely focused on vacuuming up information just to output language. There's this brilliant analogy directly from the text that I love.
The mouths and the hands.
Yes. If wave one, the chatbots, the LLMs, were the mouth of AI, then wave two, these new agents we are talking about today, are the hands.
That's such a great way to put it.
And just for clarity for everyone, when we say LLMs, we're talking about large language models. That's the underlying predictive text engine behind tools like ChatGPT that just guesses the next best word in a sentence.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that transition from the mouth to the hands explains everything about the current market shift. Wave one had a fundamental problem. The return on investment, the ROI, was really lacking once companies actually tried to deploy it at scale across a whole enterprise.
I am trying to figure out why the ROI was lacking, though, because it seems like having software that can write millions of articles or draft thousands of marketing emails would be highly profitable.
Well, it was useful for very specific, isolated tasks.
Yeah.
But the pitch to executives was that Wave 1 would universally replace human workers across all departments.
Ah, the silver bullet pitch.
Right. Big tech tried to sell it with gimmicks, like celebrity sound-alikes, or they sold it with that vibe coding craze.
Oh, vibe coding.
Yeah, this idea that anyone, regardless of technical skill, could just speak vague ideas into a machine, and software developers would become completely irrelevant.
Just say, make me an app, and it happens.
Exactly. The lure of eliminating payroll was simply too great, so executives bought into it. But like you said, a chatbot is just a mouth. It can talk, it can draft a polite email, but it cannot actively reach into your proprietary systems, understand the nuance of your business, and, execute complex multi-step actions autonomously.
Which brings us to wave two, the hands.
Right. Wave 2 shifts the focus completely. Instead of just vacuuming up the public internet to sound smart, Wave 2 focuses intensely on your company's proprietary data.
The stuff behind the firewall.
Yes. It deals with both structured and unstructured data locked within your own corporate walls.
Okay, let me make sure I'm visualizing this correctly. When you say structured data, you mean the neat, organized stuff. Rows of SQL databases, clear spreadsheets, nicely formatted client lists.
Perfect, yes.
And unstructured data would be the messy chaos of the company's PDF archives, loose email chains, transcribed Zoom meetings, and just random Slack threads.
That is the perfect distinction.
Yeah.
And the agents are the hands that reach into both of those environments simultaneously. They pull the specific context from a messy email thread, execute a structured function in your developer environment, and then summarize the result for your team.
They actually do things.
They do things.
Okay, so since these agents are the hands operating on our internal proprietary data, we need to look at what those hands are actually building. If they aren't just parlor tricks anymore, what is the practical application?
Well, the author talks about his absolute favorite current use case for AI.
Yes, and notice how he describes it. He is a data guy who got into AI originally through sports statistics, and he describes this perfect use case as a tool utilizing data aggregation, machine learning, large language models, computer vision, and voice input.
The underlying technology sounds like a list of buzzwords from a sci-fi movie.
I know, but the result is the exact opposite of sci-fi. He describes the end product as specific, boring, and yet so full of potential that it makes him want to hug a robot.
Hug a robot. That's high praise.
Right. The beauty of this boring AI is its quiet utility. Crucially, he states that this specific boring tool does not replace anyone, not a single person. It is simply a tool that helps people do great things by removing the friction from their daily tasks.
But that goes against the entire narrative right now, doesn't it?
Here's where it gets really interesting, because I have to push back on that comforting idea with the doomsayer perspective that the text explicitly mentions.
Okay, let's hear it.
If this tool is so great at aggregating data, writing code, and summarizing meetings, isn't the prevailing fear that 20 of these AI agents can do your job 100 times better than you can? And aren't company leaders actively buying into that narrative right now?
They absolutely are. The author concedes that a mathematically possible percentage of company leaders genuinely believe that hype. And this is exactly where FOMO, the fear of missing out, creates real-world negative results in the corporate landscape.
FOMO in the boardroom, just executives looking at their competitors and panicking that they aren't automating fast enough.
Exactly. Big tech companies have already cleared the decks based on this executive FOMO. We have seen massive corporations restructure, pause hiring, and lay people off, all anticipating that the AI overlords will step in and do the work of 100 junior employees flawlessly.
It's terrifying.
The doomsayer narrative is a powerful sales tactic because fear drives enterprise subscriptions. But the author makes a critical distinction here. Every case of FOMO is built on a foundation of truth.
Wait, so if the foundation of truth is that the tech is actually good, are you saying the executives are fundamentally misunderstanding what the tech is supposed to be doing?
They are misinterpreting the nature of the tool's power. The foundation of truth beneath the FOMO is that the technology really is incredible. It works.
Yeah.
The agents really can process unstructured data and execute tasks with remarkable speed. But it is just a tool for building. It is not a dystopian workforce replacement.
Got it.
It's like a power drill is vastly superior to a hand screwdriver.
Yeah.
But buying 100 power drills doesn't mean you can fire all your carpenters.
Oh, that makes total sense. Okay, so if AI is this incredibly powerful tool, but it's not actually a human replacement, how does the workload actually get split? Like, how do you and Johnny Six divide the labor on a Tuesday morning?
Right, the practical application.
Because this brings us to the ultimate reality of scaling AI in an actual business environment.
This is where the theoretical hype hits the brick wall of reality.
The text points out something that feels almost counterintuitive given the constant breathless news cycle. The author notes that the absolute top-notch developer minds, the people who understand this technology better than anyone else on the planet, they're using these agents, but they only dabble.
They just dabble.
They dabble and only dabble. Why? Because they understand a fundamental truth about scaling technology. The author says that when you scale AI in the messy human world of business, the incremental gains approach zero.
That is a profound insight into the limitations of the technology. It approaches zero because AI is fundamentally based on probability. In a clean data set, probability works beautifully, but the real corporate world is not a clean, perfectly structured data set.
It's a messy environment filled with edge cases, unstated assumptions, and office politics.
Right, and in that chaotic environment, the AI eventually hallucinates or breaks down when it encounters a scenario outside its training data.
It just guesses wrong.
Yes. And the effort required for a human to constantly monitor the agent, correct its context, and fix those 1% compounding errors, it eventually outweighs the time the AI saved you in the first place. You end up spending more time managing the agent's mistakes than you would have spent just doing the work yourself.
And regular old automation is often totally fine for basic tasks anyway. You don't need a cutting-edge, probability-based LLM to sort a spreadsheet or send a scheduled email. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to navigate your career? I'm trying to wrap my head around this dynamic. It sounds exactly like having an incredibly fast, super-powered intern.
And an intern.
Yeah, like they can compile the raw data, cross-reference the PDFs, and format the slide deck in seconds. But you, the human, still have to review every single slide because the intern doesn't know that the client absolutely hates pie charts or that the marketing VP is currently feuding with the sales director or, what the unwritten strategic goals of the quarter actually are.
That is the perfect analogy. The intern has bottomless mechanical skill, but zero contextual wisdom. And this perfectly validates the concept the author introduces to solve this problem, the rise of HITL.
HITL.
HITL, Human in the Loop. It is an acronym that is gaining fast acceptance across the industry as organizations realize they cannot leave the agents unsupervised. And this raises an important question regarding your own career and your value to your company moving forward. As the technology handles more of the mechanical heavy lifting, the data aggregation, the basic coding, the summarizing the remaining tasks are, by definition, the ones that require deep context, emotional intelligence, and strategic judgment.
The things a statistical model simply cannot do.
Precisely. Therefore, the more complex the business or the development requirements get, the more experienced and focused that human in the loop needs to be.
So experience actually matters more now.
Exactly. You cannot replace a 10-year veteran employee with an AI agent. You actually need that veteran employee more than ever to guide the agent effectively and prevent it from making catastrophic high-speed errors. The technology demands a sharper, more focused human to manage it. You will always need humans in the loop.
So the dystopian future where we're all entirely out of a job and replaced by an algorithm just isn't real, at least not in the way it's being sold. The future is actually bright precisely because our tools are getting better, provided we know how to wield them.
The people who thrive will be the ones who treat the AI as a powerful exoskeleton for their own skills rather than treating it as a competitor.
That cuts right through the noise. So to wrap up our deep dive today, let's summarize what we've uncovered about your new digital coworker. Whether your company decides to name them Johnny 6 or, as the author jokingly suggests, AI Milne, which is a terrible, terrible pun that I still sort of love.
It is arguably the worst part of the text, but it really sticks in your head.
It does. But you have to remember that their entire persona is a construct. It's a deliberate layer of marketing painted over an algorithm to make enterprise software budgets easier to swallow.
Yep.
They represent the hands of the second wave of AI. They are designed to reach into your proprietary data, both structured and unstructured, and execute mundane tasks. But they are absolutely not your replacements.
No, they're not.
Because of the messy, unpredictable nature of real-world business, they are simply powerful tools meant to be operated by a highly experienced human in the loop. And that human in the loop is you.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on the author's points.
Oh, definitely. Let's hear it.
If we continue to lean heavily into this marketing construct, if we keep giving AI agents names and cute avatar faces and an official spot on the org chart to make them feel like part of the team, how is that going to fundamentally change human psychology in the workplace over time?
Oh, that's an interesting angle. Because our brains are hardwired to attach emotionally to the things we communicate with on a daily basis.
Exactly. Think about the implications of that. If you spend 3 years collaborating with Johnny 6, chatting with it daily in Slack, relying on it to close your tickets, and saying good morning to it, what happens to your own team's morale when the CFO suddenly decides to cancel the software subscription to save money?
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, your AI coworker is essentially fired or entirely deleted overnight. Does that register in your brain as a loss?
It has to, right? You've built a routine around an entity that just vanished into the ether.
It goes even deeper than that. Conversely, which might be even more concerning for company culture, if we spend 40 hours a week getting used to treating our coworkers as subscription software, entities that we can just bluntly command without saying please, demand instant perfection from, and delete without consequence or guilt, will we slowly start treating our actual human colleagues the same way?
Wow. Are we inadvertently training ourselves to lack empathy in the office because we spend all day barking orders at a chat window?
It's a real risk.
That is a wild thought to take with you. Maybe something to ponder at your next company picnic. Just, Make sure to introduce yourself to the AI. Hopefully it won't give you the cold shoulder over the potato salad.
Better safe than sorry when dealing with the new guy in the break room.
Indeed. And if you want to keep exploring these kinds of unique intersections of tech, business, and human behavior, the author highly encourages you to check out his email list. He calls it a rebel alliance of professionals from all walks of life trying to navigate the future of work. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.